Thank you. It's great to be with you today. We regularly hear perceptions that the food system is broken and needs transformative change to ensure human and planetary health. Many global authoritative reports and voices are telling us how the food system should and could be fixed. We were inspired by an idea to bring together leaders and practitioners who actually contribute to and work in the food system for a casual dinner and discussion about just that. So in 2019, National Dairy Council collaborated with the Dairy States and Regional Network and launched a year-long Nourish Dialogue Dinner endeavor. We hosted 25 small group dinner conversations attended by nearly 300 stakeholders from coast to coast. Attendees at the dinners included representatives across the food system, including those working in the supply chain, farmers, food processors, veterinarians, agribusiness professionals, and retailers, those working in food environments and food access, those in school food service, hunger relief, university extension, government, and public policy, and those working directly with consumers to provide dietary guidance, registered dietitians, physicians, fitness professionals, and culinary experts. The dinners were a small group gathering of nearly 8 to 12 people at a time. The moderator asked a series of planned questions and asked for active listening and contribution to the dialogue. There was a note taker at each table to capture the conversation. And what transpired at these dinner discussions was an interesting exchange of ideas, discovery of shared interests, and relationship building. You can see this in the picture on the slide. The man on the right manages a dairy farm, and the woman across the table, listening so intently and leaning into the conversation, is a physician. You can see how interested and engaged she and the others at the table are, and each dinner was unique and special like that. We collected all of the notes from the dinners and compiled quantitative and qualitative analysis on the collective input of the stakeholders among all the dinners. And the analysis revealed the most common topics and themes. From these themes, 3 calls to action emerged: set the record straight, embrace comprehensive sustainability, and be solutions oriented. So let's consider these calls to actions a little deeper. I'm thrilled to be joined today in this session by 6 Nourish Dialogue Dinner guests who represented each of these calls to action. Call to action number 1 is to set the record straight. It was evident that no matter what part of the food system the dinner attendees represented, they raised concern about the pervasive misperceptions about farming, agriculture, food, nutrition, and health. Their collective voices are calling for creative approaches to improve food literacy and correct the misinformation so the next generation is empowered to make healthier, more sustainable food choices. Meet Lauren Twigg. Lauren is an early career registered dietitian who is harnessing the power of social media to reach consumers and dispel food myths and misinformation. With thousands of Instagram followers, she uses her social media challenges to tell the real story about food production, sustainability, wellness, and nutrition. Lauren grew up on a dairy farm, so has firsthand perspective and experience. As a registered dietitian, she's also dedicated to being food positive and dispelling common myths with her followers. Welcome, Lauren. Tell us a little bit about your successful approach on Instagram that engages your followers.
Yeah, so I started my Instagram page, The Dairy Dietitian, about a year ago. So it's had a lot of success over the last 11 months. And kind of like you said, I do take a very food-friendly approach and food-positive approach. And when I say that, I mean really trying to drive home that idea that all foods and food groups can fit into a healthy diet. And my ultimate goal is to free people of their food fears. People are afraid of their food. They worry about nutrition, they're worried about ingredients, but also a lot of people's food fears go all the way back to the farm. How were cows cared for? What farming technique was used? And people are really invested in their health and they want to know a lot about their nutrition, but they've also never been farther removed from agriculture. And that causes misperceptions, misunderstanding, and ultimately leads to a fear in the consumers. And people fear what they don't understand. And knowing that about people has really helped me tailor my Instagram message to cover a wide variety of topics. I educate on farming, I educate on nutrition, and then I also educate a lot about diet culture and why the culture that we live in has made us view foods the way that we view them. And this speaks to a lot of people, and that can be seen in the diversity of the followers that I have. I have vegans, vegetarians, registered dietitians, and farmers who all follow me and can all learn from my message. So 3 things that I think kind of set me apart from other influencers is I am a registered dietitian, but I have a very diverse educational background. So I have a bachelor's degree in animal science, a minor in agricultural economics, and a master's degree in clinical nutrition. So a lot of people go to dietitians with questions about food, but dietitians haven't been trained to answer the farming questions that people worry about. You know, we're worried about food, but dietitians don't have all of the answers. And my educational background has helped me kind of better answer those questions. And then, like you said, I did grow up in agriculture. And to me, that's been another huge asset for me. Not only did I study it, but I was raised in it. I was really raised in nutrition at its very roots. And that helps me better educate people, and also better helps me tell the farmer's story. I want to tell the farmer's story, and I want to make sure that it's told correctly because I respect our farmers and obviously the work that they do. And then finally, the third thing that I think really helps me on Instagram is I'm very science-based. I spend hours researching topics, and I'm very careful to share my resources. And that's helped me really tap into the scientific community that already exists on Instagram, and it's helped me further my message. So I think those are a few things that have really helped me be successful, and I really love the page, and I only see it growing from here.
Excellent. Thank you, Lauren. You know, what a great voice we have in you, in setting the record straight. You know, and also representing the Setting the Record Straight call to action, meet Dr. Kathleen Merrigan. Dr. Merrigan is the inaugural executive director of the Sweetie Center for Sustainable Food Systems at Arizona State University. She's also a former deputy secretary and chief operating officer of the U.S. Department of Agriculture. She created and led the department's Know Your Farmer, Know Your Food initiative to support local food systems, and she was a key architect of First Lady Michelle Obama's Let's Move campaign. Kathleen attended a Nourish Dialogue dinner and shared her insight that to prepare future policymakers to drive food systems transformation, I took students on an immersive 1,000-mile tour of food production in our state. Experience on the ground and having conversations with the people who grow and raise our food offers an important opportunity to gather fact-based information and overcome misperceptions about how we produce food. So welcome, Kathleen, and please share with us a memorable experience from your tour with students where you witnessed perhaps an aha moment that reinforced the need for more agriculture and food systems education.
Thanks, Katie. It's great to be with everybody today. So I am intent on bringing all of my students out to visit food production in its various forms because the bottom line message is you shouldn't be writing policy at the state house or in USDA and Congress absent on the ground conversations with the people who produce our food. That reality check is incredibly important. And so I took my students in our 1,000-mile tour of Arizona to the Kerr family dairy farm, and Wes Kerr gave us a great tour. 2 of my students are actually dairy farmers on that tour. People had a variety of experience, but I guess the aha moment in this particular setting was the conversations about scale. I think the perception among the students was that the small guys really struggle, the mid-size and the big guys are doing okay. Well, the dairy industry, we know those are misperceptions, and the Kerr family farm is larger scale than some of the students had been accustomed to, and what they learned firsthand from Wes's very straightforward and detailed presentation was that life at the dairy farm is not so easy. And he shared all of the innovations around science and technology that were going on the farm. He was really very transparent about markets and what he saw in the future for his family's operation. And I think it was the aha moment that being a farmer is just an incredibly courageous career, one that has to be built upon optimism. And I think my students learned a lot from their visit, and I think it underscores the importance of getting people out into farm country and making those reconnections that are so important in so many different ways.
Outstanding. Thank you so much, Kathleen, for what you do and your contribution to the next generation of food systems leaders. Really appreciate that. Call to action number 2, to embrace comprehensive sustainability. Many Nourish Dialogue Dinner attendees expressed frustration that sustainability discussions are often myopic and address one aspect of sustainability, missing the complexity of the topic. They're urging that environment, economic, health, and social aspects of sustainability are included in the development and implementation of food and agriculture-related programs and practices globally and locally. As we think about what this means for the next generation and opportunities to provide tangible educational tools, meet Dr. Jennifer Vandelite. She's an example of food systems educators across the U.S. and around the world rising to the challenge and developing new approaches and paradigms for teaching their students. Dr. Vandelite is the director of the Food Protection and Defense Institute at the University of Minnesota, and she also leads the university's graduate certificate course on global food systems. She's integrating issues of food insecurity and social justice into her graduate nutrition curriculum. Jennifer, welcome, and tell us a little more. Share an example of a program development and implementation that addresses social and economic factors in providing nutritious and culturally appropriate foods for a community.
Katie, thanks for that introduction. I'd be glad to share information about our Integrated Food Systems Leadership Program. Our program addresses both the social and economic factors of providing an equitable and just food system for all. It fosters leadership skills development so that as our students learn about the technical issues, they are also prepared to lead change as they take their experience in the IFSL program into the workforce. The program is uniquely designed to meet the needs of early to mid-career professionals through meeting the students where they are, being adaptive to their needs, and providing flexibility while maintaining academic rigor. We also leverage the individual expertise they bring to the program to extend formal coursework through the use of large and small group projects where there is an ability to more fully explore issues of interest. As a specific example, we asked the cohort to explore how the food system will change as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic as part of their large group capstone. They created a 47-page report titled COVID-19 and its effect on food insecurity and social inequities. In the report, they provide 3 proposed solutions. The solutions are laser focused on actionable opportunities to create a just and equitable food system, increasing access to food for those in need of food assistance, and leveraging regulatory flexibility to redirect food in times of crisis. Following the presentation of the capstone to our group of food industry advisors and friends of the program, one advisor stated, "I was staring at the screen thinking, is this a small group of people all going to be in major roles of influence and leadership someday? Of course they are." I agree with the sentiment. Our cohort of early to mid-career food system professionals are already advocating for significant positive change with their employers and are posed to truly be leaders of food system change to provide healthy, nutritious, and culturally appropriate foods for all. Although we have one graduate cohort graduating right now, they just graduated at the end of October, we already have a second cohort started, and they are learning and extending these findings for the future of our food system.
Jennifer, that's so significant, and I think underscores the importance of the dairy community to continue to work with food systems leaders and educators like yourself, so that we're bringing forward this balanced approach and really comprehensive approach to sustainable food systems for the next generation who are making these major decisions on the behalf of agriculture and food systems in general. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Katie.
You know, at the heart of call to action number 2, embracing comprehensive sustainability, is ensuring access to nutrient-rich food for everyone. Meet Gerard Matthews. Gerard leads food distribution logistics for Feeding America, the nation's largest domestic hunger relief organization. Gerard was part of the team that addressed logistical challenges in sourcing and distributing perishable produce to food bank clients in their 200 food banks across the country. Similarly, around 2012, Gerard had a turning point moment when visiting a food bank and noticed that fresh dairy foods like milk, cheese, and yogurt were almost entirely missing as offerings to their clientele. Gerard knew that milk was one of the most requested and yet least donated items by food bank patrons. And he saw it firsthand and heard it from a client about how serving cereal with water over it instead of milk was a struggle she faced frequently. Since then, Gerard has been on a journey to address challenges for providing milk and other fresh dairy foods to the Feeding America network of food banks. But Gerard couldn't do it alone. As he acknowledges on the quote on the slide, we have to get out and talk to each other, coming together for innovative solutions that make sense and make use of all the resources available. This involves engaging clients, farmers, retailers, social service agencies, dairy processors and brands, trucking and refrigeration companies, and others. We at the National Dairy Council and the Innovation Center for U.S. Dairy are proud to be part of the innovative problem solving with Feeding America. Welcome, Gerard. Gerard attended a Nourish Dialogue dinner in Chicago. Tell us about an aha moment from those who heard you speak about your work at Feeding America at the Nourish Dialogue dinner.
Thanks, Katie, for that introduction. And really, I'd just like to share those dinners were phenomenal, and the conversations that were going on during those dinners across the country. For me, we talked about food as a fundamental part of what we do at Feeding America, one of the big staples in what we do. And there's many families out there that don't have access to food. And we provide access around food. And in my particular case, as you mentioned, around dairy access in the Feeding America network. So it's critical that people get the right types of food, and Feeding America and feeding the people that's facing hunger is about more than simply just providing food. It's about providing the nourishment and the wellness to not only survive, but also for those clients to thrive on their quest for stability. So that's why it's our mission to provide the most nutritious food possible to improve the lives of those that we serve. Conversations. I mean, we had different stakeholders from different business sectors that was able to collaborate and brainstorm about different ideas. And I think we have to continue to do that in the days ahead, as we address some of this need, this high need in the hunger space, and in other areas as well, and in the supply chain. That those meetings are going to be critical for us to continue in terms of having different subject matters at the table, coming from different sectors, and understanding what those resources are available to create innovative and new different types of solutions to meet the need. Thank you.
Thanks, Gerard. It's so valuable to have an expert like you at the table to have these discussions. I think you've raised so much awareness about the issue of food insecurity in our country and some of the innovative solutions that your organization and others are really passionate about solving. So thank you for that. Call to action number 3 is to be solutions oriented. Nourish Dialogue Dinner stakeholders consistently talked about the value in partnering with other stakeholders to create solutions and raise awareness about new innovative ways to support sustainable food systems. One of the biggest challenges in sustainable food systems is food waste. This issue becomes even more maddening in the face of food insecurity. In an ideal food future, we'll ensure food security for all and eliminate food waste. Kroger and Feeding America have a program underway to tackle these dual challenges. Meet Eric Halverson, a corporate affairs manager at Kroger. Kroger has made a commitment to a zero hunger, zero waste social impact plan to end hunger in the communities they serve and eliminate food waste across the company by 2025. The program is accelerating food donations to achieve 3 billion meals donated by 2025, but not just donating more food, donating more balanced meals, and that includes dairy. Kroger stores donate milk and dairy products to food pantries, and they also partner with dairy co-ops to process milk and donate directly to food banks. The Zero Hunger, Zero Waste efforts are also going upstream to advocate for public policy solutions to address hunger and divert waste from landfills. You can see Eric's quote on this slide. It's very ambitious, and we know we can't do it alone. In some stores, on a national level, 40% of food that's grown gets thrown into a landfill. And even though it's cheaper to throw it into a landfill, in the long run, there are obvious benefits to donating and finding alternatives. We're now donating to food banks. We're working with companies to utilize waste as fertilizer, and in some cases becomes animal feed. This is an excellent example of a collaborative approach across several sectors in the food system. So welcome, Eric. As a retail professional, what did you find surprising from your conversation with guests at the Nourish Dialogue Dinner that you think all retailers should be aware of?
I'd say the biggest surprise came from the farmer who was sitting across the table from me. I was prepared to talk about something new at one of our plants in Greensburg, Indiana, KB Specialty Foods. I thought the story I was going to tell would impress the other guests, showing Kroger's leadership in new technology. In short, it was a story about something called an anaerobic digester, which takes waste products at the plant, collects methane from them, and then uses that methane to help power the plant. Little did I know the farmer was very familiar with the concept. He has one on his farm, but there's a good lesson there, and it recalls what you were just talking about. It's a key concept in Kroger's Zero Hunger, Zero Waste plan. In short, there's a lot of knowledge around us, and we should never presume any of us have all the answers. Beyond that, though, I believe the other guests did admire the ambition of our hunger relief and sustainability plan. But sitting with that group, the farmer, two professors, and a pediatrician, if I remember correctly, reminded me of something we said as we unveiled Zero Hunger, Zero Waste. We knew, as you said, we couldn't solve these problems alone. Kroger has certain capabilities from our expertise in the grocery business. And knowing that other people bring insights from their fields, we even created an innovation fund to support some of the most creative new concepts in the country. We need all of it, because if we're going to solve problems as big as hunger and the environmental issues that concern us, we must work together. Collaboration on common goals is good for business and society. And that's going to be probably my key takeaway from the dinner.
Thanks, Eric. You know, you really underscored the value of bringing new and perhaps, innovative and unrelated or strange partnerships together for these really innovative type of solutions that the Kroger company and others are committed to. Thank you very much. It's by design that a dairy farmer was critical at each Nourish Dialogue dinner. Regardless of the location around the country and the diversity of the stakeholders who attended, it was always the dairy farmer who, often showed up a bit quiet at first and always humble, but emerged really as the rock star of the discussions. Dinner guests were surprised, impressed, and hungry to know more about the amazing things the dairy farmers doing on the farm and in their community to provide nutritious dairy foods produced in a responsible way. As an example, meet Louis Kazmaier of Rick Rial Dairy. He attended a Nourish Dialogue dinner in Portland, Oregon. Louis is a third-generation dairy farmer, and one of his first comments at the dinner was that, "I believe every dairy farmer wants to be sustainable." He then shared some of the sustainability practices he's implementing on his farm, from upgrading his farm's lighting to reduce energy use by hundreds of thousands of kilowatts per year. He also shared his vigilance about soil health, waste management, water conservation, and cow care, and that he has an open door policy for other farmers as part of his commitment to sharing his solutions with others. Louis later talked about his passion for helping families and school children make the connection between agriculture and good nutrition. He shared how he hosts live tours on his farm, as well as virtual farm tours in partnership with the Oregon Dairy and Nutrition Council and Oregon Agriculture in the Classroom. Each virtual tour reaches an average of 15 classrooms, and the videos are available on YouTube. Louis also makes time to serve his community and his church. He built a camp in Oregon for families that have children with special needs. And every 6 months, he travels to a village in Uganda where he's helped build a church, support an orphanage and medical center, and start a small farm. So Louis, welcome. And as we're wrapping up and coming to the close of this session, please share with us some words of wisdom about the importance of including farmers in conversations like the one you participated in at the Nourish Dialogue Dinner.
Thank you, Katie, for that overwhelmingly nice bio. Moved onto the farm when I was 18 years old. And started dating my wife. And so that gave me a unique perspective of why we do things the way we do as a farmer. And I think when we are raised on a farm, we do things every day that people in the public don't even realize and don't think about. And so when I was asked to come sit at a table with this Nourish Dialogue Dinner, to be honest with you, when I walked in, it was like a fish out of water. You're absolutely right. I showed up terrified, and I didn't. As a farmer, we just generally like to stick with our farm, and to walk into a room with a bunch of doctors and nutritionists and everything else, and hear what they're talking about really was terrifying. And when we sat down and started eating dinner and we introduced each other, as soon as I said that I am a dairy farmer, almost 80% of the conversation around the table was directed to me. And there were other specialists in the area, and they're fascinated with what happens on a daily basis on a dairy farm. And so, and I know that every dairy farmer is the same as I am. We want to do the sustainable thing to the best of our ability. And we just need to tell our story. So when these opportunities come up, and DMI maybe calls you, or your local folks call you and ask you to share at a community or something, take them up on it. You'll be surprised at how well we are received, and the questions that you would get asked. So thank you.
Thanks, Louis. Very sage words of advice. Dairy farmers are truly the heart of everything that is about agriculture, and you contribute so much, and people are fascinated, truly, as you experience, people are fascinated by learning from you and talking with you and engaging with you. What we've shared today is just the beginning. The connections between agriculture, nutrient-rich food, health, and sustainability are at the forefront of a desired food future. As we learn from taking time to deeply listen and talk with the Nourish Dialogue Dinner participants, progress can be made to achieve better health for people and the planet, with actions taken individually and collaboratively across the food system. And there's no shortage of loud voices talking about a dystopian future for people on the planet. The thoughtful discussions at these dinners uncovered a hopeful perspective, one seeing the potential for solutions that can lead to a flourishing future with healthy people living on a healthy planet. It was hopeful because they have the passion, they're doing the work, and they're seeing the results. The three calls to action represent shared ideas and motivations. Together, these provide a roadmap to achieve a world well-nourished. We're excited to share that the key learnings from the Nourish Dialogue Dinners are captured in a report we're launching today. The 6 panelists here are featured in the report, along with other stories of innovative food system stakeholders doing their part to better their community and strengthen sustainable food systems. Visit usdairy.com to access the report, and you can see the link on the slide. We hope the stories you've heard today inspire you in our shared responsibility to contribute to and advance healthy, sustainable food systems. Thank you.